Welcome to Reddit Tea Time. Am I the bonehead for closing a joint bank account my uncle made for me as a minor that I've never even used after discovering weird transactions on it? I, 22 female, am a college junior who doesn't have experience with credit cards, but I applied for some in May to temporarily aid in making 2 payments I have in my student account. I got approved for one from Discover and the other from Bank of America, which I don't bank with. Because of the disorganization in my dorm's mailroom, I so far only received my Bank of America credit card just Thursday. I attempted to activate it through the Bank of America app and register for an account, but it notified me my social security number was already connected to an account, which then reminded me of the ones my uncle, in his 50s, created for me and my sister in 2018. I was 17 and she was 15 then. My sister and I both had our own joint bank accounts with him so he could give us allowances, which never happened. And he then asked for the debit cards back after he and our mom fell out, claiming he was closing the accounts. So from 2018 to now, I've never used or even been inside my Bank of America joint account. I got in after accessing my old email and resetting the Bank of America password and saw 35 cents in the checking account. It was odd to me since I've never used it and figured he had long closed it. Going through the transaction history, I saw that he was transferring considerable amounts of money in and out of the account to other accounts and various ATM transactions, with his last transaction being this April. When bringing it up in my financial issues, I asked him if me activating my credit card would affect whatever he's doing in the checking account, since I don't bank with Bank of America or know anything about credit cards. He acted clueless about the transactions before talking about going to the bank the next day and telling me to ask my sister if she was available, and then got upset with me and asked how long I had known about this, whatever this even is, and how did I gain access to the account. I explained I just found out about it that day, and that because my credit card and the joint account are linked to my social security number, that's how I gained access to it after logging in. He then circled back, asking me if my sister could come to the bank with us the next day, and got off the phone. That night, I spoke to my sister about it. She was upset and said she didn't want to go to the bank with him and was busy anyway. After our call, I texted him that she would be busy the next day, to which he didn't respond. Yesterday, aka the next day, I went to Bank of America, spoke to a banker and explained the ordeal to her. She asked if I wanted to close the account since I can't remove myself because both parties weren't present. I was honestly hesitant to do so because I don't want to be on the receiving end of my uncle's rage, since he does have anger problems and has physically abused women in the past. But despite my fears, I chose to close the account anyway because I have no idea what he's even doing with it, especially with it attached to my social security number. Last night, I received a call from him and didn't answer, and then received a text immediately after, telling me to call him back and asking me if I closed the account. He keeps calling and I still haven't responded because I'm afraid of him, to be honest. Am I the bonehead for closing it without even consulting him first? Now for some comments. Contact a tax attorney immediately. I realize it's using money you may not have, but it looks like some transactions were carried out in your name, and you would be responsible for all tax repercussions. Also, get your credit report from annualcreditreport.com and see if there's activity you don't recognize. If there is, contact the creditors, and if it's your uncle who pulled this, contact the police. Your future self will thank you. Obviously not the bonehead. That would be your uncle. And please do not, under any circumstances, make contact with your uncle. If it gets threatening, contact the police. Your uncle is up to something, and it sounds shady as hell. Good for you for closing the account now. Because your uncle knows your social security number, you need to freeze your credit so he can't use your number for God knows what else. You can unfreeze it as necessary, but you absolutely need to put your password or whatever in a secure location. Never be alone with that man again, since you sound scared of him. And if your sister is allowed to as a minor, she should close her joint account too. You can help her set up a new account at a different bank. I hope none of your uncle's shenanigans come back to bite you in the butt, not the bonehead. Just guessing, of course, but I'm thinking he's money laundering, or tax evading, or hiding money from a wife or funding a mistress. Not the bonehead, obviously. I second all the advice about getting legal advice and preserving communications. Am I the bonehead for telling my wife her relationship with her sister is weird and irritating? I'm 24 years old and my wife is 24 years old. We recently got married last year, but now I'm considering divorce. She and her twin sister Anna are really close and spend a lot of time together, and at first it wasn't concerning. It was just sisterly love. Her parents had kicked her sister out for reasons my wife hasn't told me yet, so my wife invited her to live with us. I didn't mind the decision at the time, and I thought that she would contribute to the rent, but she does nothing but eat and sleep. My wife condones it and gets mad whenever I bring up her sister's laziness. We used to have short arguments about this, nothing heated, but now it's become worse. My wife not only condones this behavior, but also spends every waking moment with her sister. She lives like I don't exist. She and her sister sleep together, eat together, dress the same, and find it funny to confuse me and switch places. She and her sister also go everywhere together, often leaving me alone and making me feel like a third wheel in my own marriage. I've tried talking to my wife about this, but she either ignores me or her sister is clinging to her, barely giving us enough privacy to talk. I got tired of this and cornered my wife. I told her that her relationship with her sister is ruining our marriage and I need them to give each other space. My wife obviously got offended and said that there's nothing wrong with their relationship and that's how they've been since they were kids, and if I don't like it, I should get a divorce. It hurt that she'd rather end a marriage that has barely started than talk, and I said that her and her sister's relationship was weird and irritating and that I should have never married her. Now we haven't spoken in a while and she refuses to even look at me. I don't feel like a bonehead, but my friends say I am. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead, you didn't marry twins, you married a twin. You are newlyweds, so if this is the dynamic now, I'd get out while you can, sadly. Your wife is still a child, not the bonehead. Your wife has made her decision. She is picking her sister over you and refuses to give you any consideration. Please do the right thing for yourself and move on. Her parents had kicked her sister out for reasons you don't yet know. I think you should have figured this out by now. My money is on laziness, unwillingness to get a job, tired of supporting her, etc. Not the bonehead. Am I the bonehead for telling my mom she's acting creepy and rude? Going to try to make this quick. My 26 male, dad, 47 male, divorced my mother when I was 12. I didn't notice it as a kid, but she made him miserable in ways I won't get into. After the divorce, my mother got custody of me while I visited my dad every once in a while. My dad tried to make sure I knew that it wasn't because of me and tried to preserve our relationship, but my mother was very nasty when talking about him, and soon, our relationship, mainly on my side, grew strained and our relationship became distant. Now, because I'm an adult and have realized how toxic my mother was, I've started therapy and have sought out my dad to better our relationship. Recently, when I came over to hang out with him, a young woman came into his house. He introduced her as his girlfriend. I admit I was a little weirded out because she doesn't look very much older than me, if not the same age, but I didn't really care. She was very kind to me, and after she left, my dad seemed very happy when I asked him a little more about her. After leaving his place, I got a call from my mother. Right now, we're on low contact, but she calls me every once in a while to catch up. During the conversation, she mentioned that she had passed by my dad's house and instantly asked if the girl that came out was my girlfriend. I was super weirded out that she was apparently watching his house, but told her that she wasn't my girlfriend. I didn't tell her that she was my dad's directly because it isn't her business, but she instantly realized and launched into a rant about he was a sick man and he must have been dating her since she was a child because why else would a girl so young date someone like him? She also once said that maybe my dad's girlfriend did nasty things. Several times during her rant I tried to change the subject, but she just ignored me. Finally, once she said something about how he was so awful to her and how he was the reason she was miserable, I snapped and told her that my dad wasn't her property and he had a right to date anyone he wanted, and it was rude of her to judge them without knowing anything about his girlfriend or the relationship. Then, I told her that her stopping by my dad's house for no reason was creepy. Then I hung up and went to bed. The next morning and for the last few days, I've gotten texts and calls from my mother's side of the family, telling me that I'm a bonehead for saying she was creepy and invalidating her feelings. However, I stand by what I said. Her feelings have no place in my father's life anymore now that they are divorced, and she had zero reason to be by his house because he lives across town from any of the places she goes to. Also, a final thing to add on. I might be more open to apologizing to her, but she's had everyone in her family posting that my dad is a predator and have been trying to call his workplace. So am I the bonehead? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. Truly sorry for this happening to you. As soon as I read she called, my gut instinct was she wanted to prime you for information about your father. She admitted to driving by your father's house, not the bonehead. Your mother needs to mind her own business. You are not wrong to say her actions are creepy. Not the bonehead. You were accurate. Stay in therapy. It helps you remain sane, clarifying what is real as an adult. In my opinion, setting and keeping boundaries with her is an absolute priority. You can set the tone ahead of time. Tell her, Mom, when you speak about Dad, good or bad, I will end the call or leave our visit. When she mentions him, remind her, you stated Dad's name and I'm hanging up now. Always drive separate so you have a car, or Uber. Yes, there is no reason she should be fixated and creeping on him and you. She is entitled and does not hesitate to infect her family members to attack you. This is not love, it is cruel, self-serving manipulation. Best to you. Am I the bonehead for calling my coworker weird for signing up to his sister's OnlyFans? I just had a really weird week and need some feedback to know if I'm crazy or not. I, 18 female, was working my first shift at a new job with one of my male coworkers. We'll call him Jeff, and his sister, we'll call her Tracy. Pretty early on, I found out that Tracy had an OnlyFans. And by early on, I mean 5 minutes into a conversation with her, she told me and encouraged me to check it out. I'm a pretty whatever works for you kind of person, so I didn't really comment on it. After she left early and me and her brother Jeff were closing up, he brought it up again and was making comments that rubbed me the wrong way. Comments like, she has so many people liking her pics on there and she has a ton of amazing pics. I'm all for supporting your sister, but it felt weird. After a few minutes of this, and me smiling awkwardly, I said jokingly, well, how would you know? Not like you're looking at them. He stared at me and said, and I quote, well, sure I have. I had no words and just let out a weird laugh, thinking he had to be joking. Like, you're looking at your sister's OnlyFans? But he went on saying how he even helped take some pictures for her when she asked. I was still reeling from shock and blurted, how weird are you? He got defensive immediately and started ranting on about how it wasn't weird to support someone you care about and that her being his sister didn't matter. She was still pretty and nice to look at. I just repeated that he was weird and that I would be horrified if I was his sister. It got very quiet and he was glaring daggers at me. We quickly closed everything up and I left. The next few days I didn't have a shift with either of them, but I heard my other coworkers whispering about it and how I was messed up for meddling in family business. I ran into the sister recently and she told me I had no right to judge and he was just being a good brother. Am I the bonehead? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. The she was still pretty to look at crap is hella weird. Stay far away from this Lannister family. I mean, they were pretty much literally promoting their family business to you. So yeah, you're going to have an opinion about it. Not the bonehead. They were recruiting you at work, trying to get you to subscribe to the family business. That kind of crap has no place at work. Not the bonehead. What do you think? Please like and tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you don't want to miss a single Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.